About some of the front-end issues. Is that a positive signal to markets, do you think?
I do. So there is some concern that before the Fed acted, we were seeing these issues in the repo market. And basically it was an indication that the amount of reserves in the banking system was too low. And so the Fed is right to expand their balance sheet and sort of take that tail risk off the table. And at the same time, they won't expand it exactly enough. They'll probably give a little bit more of a cushion. It could be several $100 billion extra. We'll hear more about that when the Fed speaks to us next on October 30th. But ultimately, we think that this is, absolutely a minor positive for markets.
Jason, thank you very much for giving us your thoughts this morning. Jason Benowitz, Senior Portfolio Manager, Roosevelt Investment Group. Now, I want to just bring you some fresh news on Renault, the story we've been following all morning. We have confirmation now from Renault that they have decided to end the mandate of Mr. Thierry Bolloré as Chief Executive Officer. They have decided to appoint with immediate effect Clotilde Delbos as Chief Executive Officer of Renault for an interim period until a process is completed to appoint a new chief executive officer. They also gave a favorable opinion on the appointment of Olivier Mourguet and Jose Vicente de los Mozos as deputy managing directors to assist in her duties. And in addition, just flagging that the chairman, Jean-Dominique Senard, will assume the presidency of Renault during this interim period.
A lot of turnover at the company. And as you and I were discussing actually offline, it seems like anyone who's somewhat closely associated with Carlos Ghosn is being replaced by new faces.
It is. It's been an incredible story there. And in terms of the Renault share price reaction you just saw there, we have seen some positive reaction to this news. And it's currently up about 2.8%. Well, let's take a look at U.S. futures and see how we're setting up for the Wall Street session. We saw another strong day on Wall Street yesterday. It looks like that positive momentum is going to continue with trade front and center.
A lot of optimism in the air. But that is it for our Friday show today. I'm Jemana Bersachi.
And I'm Juliana Tattlebaum. Worldwide Exchange is up next.
Power outages can be unpredictable, inconvenient, and disruptive to your life.
If you're collecting your prescription, don't assume you can claim it for free. Not all benefits entitle you to free prescriptions. And if you claim when you're not entitled, you could face a penalty charge of up to £100. Thankfully, there's a simple way to find out if you should be paying. Search Check Before You Tick online and use our eligibility checker to find out if your benefits mean you can claim for free. Or you can ask your pharmacy team. So always remember to check before you tick. This was brought to you by the NHS.
London, switch to Vodafone, the UK's best mobile network, and Be Unlimited, because the best phones deserve the best network and our new unlimited data plans. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Max download speeds apply to unlimited data. Best network as voted by readers of trusted reviews. Terms at vodafone.co.uk/unlimited.
Feeling sleepy? On the bus home? Feet sore from dancing? Just me and Della. All quiet now. Peaceful. Our stop. Step out into the silence. Just our footsteps. Every shutter down. Traffic lights directing no one. Familiar glow. Step into the warmth. Big Mac and fries.
Over 700 McDonald's open 24 hours. We are awake.
The B&Q 3-for-2 offer is now on, including an unmissable 3-for-2 on tiles and flooring, like real wood and laminate. So hurry to B&Q. You can do it when you're 3-for-2 it. Excludes cut-to-measure flooring, flooring accessories and underlay. Every third item per single transaction in descending price order free. Offer ends November 3rd. See DIY.com.
The Peugeot Professional Van range is the beating heart of businesses across the UK. Whether you're on the road with only your DAB radio for company or navigating tight spots with rear parking sensors, all Peugeot Professional Vans give your business that edge. Visit your local Peugeot dealership during our October van event from the 10th to the 31st of October and drive away with an exclusive finance offer. Master the impossible. Peugeot Motor Company PLC is acting as a credit broker, not a lender. Finance subject to status. Terms and conditions apply. Business users and over 18s only. Guarantee may be required. PSA Finance UK Limited.
It's going to be mild today, but with the worst of winter yet to reach London, you don't want to come home to a broken boiler. We're with you. So that's why with British Gas Home Care, we've got your boiler covered 365 days a year. We have thousands of engineers on hand to help get your boiler up and running again, and all from just 46p a day. Buy selected home care products online by the 28th of October and get 1 month free. Search British Gas Home Care. Conditions apply. Prices vary by postcode.
Hey, it's me again, the TV. Since my family gave me Now TV, there's no more endlessly searching for something they want to watch, because now I don't do filler TV, just killer TV. If my family want movies, I've got blockbusters. Football, how about the Premier League? Or how about crime dramas? I've got loads, and they're never going to guess who did it. Now they can watch whatever they're in the mood for.
What's your TV got for you tonight? Now TV. 18 plus, month passes auto renew, terms apply.
Hey, it's me again, the TV. Since my family gave me Now TV, there's no more endlessly searching for something they want to watch, because now I don't do filler TV, just killer TV. If my family want sports, these games are unmissable. Get in. Reality TV, I can fill that island-shaped hole. Or how about comedy? Coming up, way better than the dad jokes in this house. Now they can watch whatever they're in the mood for.
What's your TV got for you tonight? Now TV. 18 plus, month passes auto renew, terms apply.
5, breaking news out of the Middle East. An apparent explosion on an Iranian oil tanker, and it's sending crude prices soaring. The president says doing very well. He's putting some rose-colored glasses on the latest round of trade talks as he prepares for his own face-to-face today. A secret meeting, what GM CEO Mary Barra is doing behind closed doors as the UAW strike enters its 26th day. And it's the end of an era. The CEO of one of the world's largest software companies stepping down after nearly 10 years at the helm. Apple CEO Tim Cook is defending his decision to pull a key app from the App Store in Hong Kong. This is Friday, October 11th. The Worldwide Exchange begins right now. Sullivan this morning. Great to have you along. We start this morning with breaking news. Global crude prices rising sharply on news that a national Iranian oil company tanker caught fire after an explosion in the Red Sea near the Saudi port of Jeddah. This is according to the Islamic Republic News Agency. NBC's Ali Arouzi joins us live now from Tehran. Ali, what news are you getting here? Who's behind it?
Good morning, Contessa. Well, we don't know who's behind it right now, but the national Iranian oil company says that the vessel which belongs to them is called the Sabeti, and it sustained damage to its hull after it was hit by 2 explosions within half an hour of each other. Now, they've dispatched a team of investigators, but the Iranians are, however, saying that this was an act of terrorism and that they suspected that the damage was caused by missile strikes. Now, according to Iranian state media, the Sabeti was about 60 miles off the coast of the port city of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia when the attack happened, and the Iranians are denying any serious damage. They say 2 storerooms were hit and that some oil had leaked into the Red Sea, but it's been contained now. And they also say the crew on board are safe and have been working to stabilize the ship. They also deny reports that the ship was on fire. State media have released some images of the vessel, which we can't verify at this stage, but it appears to show a minimal amount of damage. Now, authorities here are saying that the ship's engine hasn't been damaged, and they're making efforts to bring the ship back into Iranian territorial waters. This will nonetheless spike tensions even further in an already very volatile neighborhood. Iran's oil minister has called an emergency meeting to try and determine the cause and the culprits of this attack. Contessa?
We saw oil spike about 2% as soon as the headlines crossed about that attack. So, Ali, as you mentioned, this has been an area fraught with tensions. There have been other attacks on oil tankers, on U.S. drones. Has it affected the ability of these tankers to get oil in and out of the region?
It hasn't affected the ability, but it has made it a lot more dangerous and a lot more expensive. It makes oil prices go up. If you need more security to bring these tankers in and out of the region. That causes money, and it's made people very nervous about transporting oil through here with all of those incidents you mentioned. I mean, it's been an unbelievable summer of volatility. All those oil tankers we saw that got hit in the Persian Gulf over the summer, the drones that got hit, and the attacks on the Aramco facilities. So it's a dangerous neighborhood, and it's expensive to maneuver around here.
All right, Ali Arouzi, thank you for the report there from Iran. Let's go to some stocks now. U.S. futures indicating the Dow will open up, and we're looking indicated now up 250 points. The bond market, and there you're seeing the NASDAQ futures up as well, up 93 points. The bond market now, and let's take a look at the treasuries, where we've seen the 10-year falling just a bit this morning, but now recovering up 1.67%. It looks like the 2-year is up as well, 1.5%. Let's go worldwide now. In Asia, we've seen optimism on the trade front, and in Japan, the Nikkei is up 1.15%, the Hang Seng up 2 1/3, Shanghai up almost 1%, as is the Kospi as well. And in Europe, it looks like hopes there not only for the China-U.S. trade deal, but for a Brexit deal as well, with some optimistic headlines coming out of Brussels and in the green across the board. The developing story that we're watching on trade here is that top U.S. and Chinese negotiators are preparing for a second day of talks, as President Trump describes the state of play as very good.
We're doing very well. We're having another one tomorrow. I'm meeting with the Vice Premier over at the White House, and I think it's going really well. I will say, I think it's going really well. So we had a very, very good negotiation with China. They'll be speaking a little bit later, but they're basically wrapping it up, and we're going to see them tomorrow right here.
Well, and Trump's take was enough to give a little shot of adrenaline to the markets there. Eunice Yoon is in Beijing, keeping an eye on this from overseas. So how is it looking there? We're seeing the markets in Asia up today on those optimistic headlines.
Yeah, and a lot of people here are just as optimistic. The vice premier is going to be heading to the White House as we just saw, the President Trump is said that the two are going to have a face-to-face meeting. And just like in the U.S., people here are upbeat. The state media has been much more optimistic than in the past couple of days. In fact, the China Daily, which is a state paper, had a headline today saying, "Smiles seen on the first day." Now, one source familiar with the conversations in Washington, who's here, told me that it looks as though the two sides are headed not necessarily towards a deal, but at least towards de-escalation, that the tranche of tariffs that are supposed to kick in on Tuesday and then another in December will likely be suspended, and that the U.S. would also potentially, even as early as next week, announce that they're going to allow American suppliers to sell certain components to Chinese tech giant Huawei, which has technically been on a blacklist. So in exchange, the Chinese would buy more agricultural products, also potentially agree to a pact that would discourage currency manipulation. And for the most part, Contessa, it looks as though the business community, at least the people I talk to here, say that they welcome this mini deal just because it would lift the uncertainty over their businesses with the idea that they hope that the two sides would tackle some of the more structural issues down the road.
Some of the other headlines that are coming out this morning have to do with China deciding, it's been announced, that it's going to roll back some of the bans to foreign investment of securities in China. What are you learning about that?
Yeah, that just happened a couple of minutes ago. The Chinese securities regulator announced a timetable for getting rid of some of these limits and for foreign financial institutions in certain sectors. So they said that they have now, for all of next year, futures companies, fund management companies, as well as securities companies will be able to invest more in the Chinese financial system. But just just one important point, I think, Contessa, is that this was a previously announced reform. So there's nothing really new here. The timetable is there, but even though it's probably going to be seen as a kind of like a feel-good injection while this optimism is riding high, but it's not necessarily the Chinese giving in and saying that they're going to make any other changes to their financial system or to the way that they run the economy here.
Got it. Eunice, thank you very much for keeping us up to speed. Appreciate that. And we want to turn to Hong Kong as well, because you've been following that. And this week, both Apple and Google have pulled key apps supporting the demonstrators from their app store. Some say the move indicates that they're bending to pressure from Beijing. But Tim Cook told CNBC yesterday one particular app was being used maliciously to target law enforcement. What are you hearing from Asia about this app coming down and how that might influence what happens with the protests?
Well, Contessa, depending on where you are, you're either the companies, and especially Apple, are either facing criticism or praise. So in Hong Kong, there's been a lot of criticism that Apple is just caving to pressure from the Chinese government, because previously the People's Daily, one of the Communist Party papers, was attacking Apple. But in China, the Global Times, which is a Communist Party paper, just today had posted on its social media praise for Tim Cook. So these kind of situations, I mean, a lot of American companies now are facing these kind of complicated situations when it comes to Hong Kong. I think what's interesting, though, is if you contrast the way Apple and Google are handling the situation with the NBA. So the NBA appears to be navigating their dispute with China relatively okay, maybe a little, not necessarily unscathed, but they're doing all right. The tone and the nationalist rhetoric against the NBA after the tweet about Hong Kong that the NBA supported when it came to the Houston Rockets general manager, that rhetoric has now died down, and the game that is expected to take place tomorrow is still going ahead. So the NBA, according to some reports, has said that they're trying not to escalate the situation by not allowing more media interviews from the players while they're here. But at the same time, it's at least not completely getting kicked out of this market.
It's interesting how the pressure comes down on the companies that want to continue to operate in China and in Hong Kong as well. Eunice, thank you for that. Appreciate it. So there's a lot of factors here for investors to consider this morning. Dow Jones futures up 270 points right now. Joining me is Dory Wiley, a CEO of Commerce Street Capital. Dory, when you're looking at the response to President Trump coming out and saying, hey, it's going great out there, is the optimism valid?
Well, that's a good question. It sort of reminds me of Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown, and he falls on his back again. I think the market's been head faked by that optimist talk for the last 15 months. So I'll believe it when I see it. However, I do think China's dealing from a very weak position and Trump is dealing from a strong position. I think any expectations that we have an all-inclusive deal that takes care of everything is totally unrealistic. So I do understand they're focusing kind of on intellectual property right now. So hopefully something comes of that. But I think the real practical thing is they're not going to solve human rights issues in mainland or Hong Kong. They're not going to solve, some of these technology transfer issues that they're dealing with, or industrial subsidies. I think it's going to be really difficult to deal with the currency issue and have good checks and balances on that. So if you're a company and you're waiting and you're not doing production because you're going to wait and see how this happens, I just think that's a mistake by CEOs, and they need to find other ways to deal with their supply chains.
What are you telling your clients, especially those who you're looking at their retirement funds, what are you telling them about the volatility that we're experiencing right now?
Well, retirement savings is all about the long term. So, you need to invest for the long term and turn away and let it go. But as far as exposure to China and companies that are dealing with China, at least over the next 3 to 5 years, there's no reason to overweight, in my opinion.
We're going into the fourth quarter now. Often what we see is this gets wrapped up with a big holiday bow, but certainly that wasn't the case last year. What's your expectation for Q4?
Well, I think there's some downside bias towards news. So if we've got bad news that comes out, the market's going to overreact to the downside. However, I don't think things are as bad as people think. That people aren't you worried about a recession? I'm not worried about a recession. So what if we slow down to 1.5% growth? We had that in the previous administration for 8 years. What people are worried about and what they're afraid about is a crash. And I just don't see a crash in the cards right now. The banks have tremendous amount of capital, 8 to 10% capital. As far as the cushion against the 4% restrictions from regulators, it's 6 to 7 times the amount they had in 2007. Is there some reaching on credit and some credit structure issues, particularly in the big banks? Yes, but I think we'll even see some good bank earnings today and the rest of this week that probably surprise some people.
Certainly we saw them performing well yesterday. You think the bank underperformance is over?
I don't know that it's the public markets, it's hard to tell, but fundamentally the banks look really, really good. And everyone's worried about margin pressure. I'm not worried about a lot of margin pressure unless rates go down, 150 basis points.
Mm-hmm.
But short-term margin pressure, I'm not really worried about, except for a few banks that are overly biased on the asset-sensitive side, like Comerica. But most of the banks, the big banks, are exposed more to trading and some other things in their net income than they are net interest margin pressure.
Dory, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday. Have a great weekend.
You bet.
When we come back, a crucial day in court for the embattled maker of OxyContin. And then a secret meeting, what Mary Barra is doing to put an end to the now 26-day-long worker strike. And later, much more on the reported attack on an Iranian oil tanker. It's a busy hour still ahead when Worldwide Exchange returns.
Your skin has different needs at night.
It's never nice missing out. But millions are doing just that by having a current account that doesn't pay them any interest on their hard-earned money. TSB is here to help. They offer interest to all their Plus account customers for no monthly fee. So if you're one of the millions of people who are missing out, talk to TSB. Terms and conditions apply.
At Argos, save up to 25% off furniture across thousands of lines. Our autumn-winter home and furniture collection is here. So stylish, you can wear it. With Argos, you're good to go. Offer ends the 22nd of October. Offer excludes nursery, bathroom and garden furniture. Conditions apply, subject to availability selected lines.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
London, switch to Vodafone, the UK's best mobile network, and Be Unlimited, because the best phones deserve the best network and our new unlimited data plans. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Max download speeds apply to unlimited data. Best network as voted by readers of trusted reviews. Terms at vodafone.co.uk/unlimited.
Chase the sun with TUI to over 40 long-haul destinations. Explore the beautiful beaches of Jamaica, sip margaritas in Mexico, or see the many wonders of Asia. And until the 26th of October, enjoy £150 off per booking. When you fly with us, we'll take you there on one of our state-of-the-art Dreamliner planes. TUI, we cross the T's, dot the I's, and put you in the middle. T's and C's apply. Minimum spend £1,200 and available on selected holidays. See website for details at All Protected.
A critical day in court for the embattled pharmaceutical giant behind the drug oxycodone. Meg Terrell joins us now. What are you expecting to see in court?
Yeah, so Contessa, this is no